Well, there's been a big battle in Washington, D.C. over cutting our military spending, including retiring a fighter plane based out of Selfridge Air National Guard Base.
Yeah, we're talking about the venerable old A-10 Thunderbolt fleet. Right now, the plane's being used in the fight against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, but President Obama proposed retiring those planes earlier this year. The proposal received some serious backlash from our leaders from Michigan in Washington, including both of our senators, Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters, joined by Representative Candace Miller, whose district is home to the base. Thanks to those efforts this week, the Senate is expected to vote on a defense bill that would save the fighter planes to fight yet another year.
At least another year. But with official wars in Afghanistan and Iraq winding down, their future remains uncertain. But the U.S. is still looking at ways to cut defense spending right now. And Senator Debbie Stabenow joins us today from Washington. Thank you, Senator, for your time.
Absolutely, Carolyn. It's good to be with you and Stephen.
Well, thank you. Okay, first question, are we saving the A-10 because it's the right thing to do, or are we saving the A-10 because we're all from Michigan?
Both. Well, here's what I would say. First of all, this is one of the most popular planes for our troops. And back in January, we saw two airmen that were able to save, Air Force pilots who were able to save 6 Marines on the ground in Afghanistan because of the A-10s and the fact that they were able to go through very serious fog and other kinds of challenges to be able to get them out. We have right now 350 airmen that have been sent to fight ISIS, and as well as a number of A-10s with them. It's the most popular plane. It is absolutely about Michigan. Also, we have 650 jobs directly related to A-10s, but it's about having a fighter force that our troops believe is the most effective.
So, Senator Stabenow, I know you wrote a letter to the president saying we shouldn't really retire the A-10s without an alternative or a backup. Are we working on one? Are we close to one?
Well, we need a flying mission for Selfridge. This is a very effective, very important base for us that frankly brings in all parts of the military together as a team, and Team Selfridge. And at this point in time, we've not heard of the next mission for Selfridge. In the meantime, we know the A-10s are very, very important. When they're talking about ISIS and getting people over to Afghanistan or Iraq, they're taking them on A-10s. And we're saving people's lives because of the air support of A-10s. And so I want to see what comes next before I would ever agree to support eliminating those. And so we went to bat in the House and the Senate, and we have a bill in front of us we're going to be voting on in the next day that will guarantee funding for the next year for the A-10s.
Now, we know the A-10 is going to eventually go away. I mean, pretty much all military jets eventually get passed on to something else. So we know it's going to happen. The A-10's been on the chopping block a number of times, so the end is near. Would you fight for whatever replaces the A-10 being based out of Selfridge, which I think comes as part of that definition of mission?
Absolutely. We need a flying mission at Selfridge. And, you know, we have, Stephen, a wonderful set of strategic assets for our Department of Defense in Michigan right now through the National Guard and Reserves, as well as the Department of Defense. It's Selfridge, it's at Battle Creek. We are training people up in Alpena. We have Camp Grayling. There's a wonderful set of assets. In fact, this summer, our whole delegation, for the first time ever in Michigan, on a bipartisan basis, is going to be going together to all of those. Everybody knows what's in their own district, but not everybody has had to go throughout Michigan and see the wonderful things that are being done. So we're going to do that this summer and get up to speed completely on what comes next. We know things are changing. Technology is changing. But right now, we have a fighter plane that's tried and true. It's allowing our Air Force to save lives, and until they can replace it with something just as effective, I think we need to keep them.
I know we need an alternative. Real quickly, Senator Stabenow, when you're in meetings behind closed doors, do you ever talk about the jeopardy of Selfridge Air National Guard Base closing down if anything should happen to the A-10, especially if we don't have an alternative for that fighter jet?
Well, we talk about the fact that we're not going to let that happen. We're going to do everything humanly possible to make sure that it does not happen. We have about 4,000 men and women who are working very, very effectively through Selfridge. And at this point in time, there is no plan for that to happen. And I certainly am going to be at the front of the line to do everything possible to make sure it doesn't.
We know you will, for sure.
Deputy Stabenow, thanks for fighting for Michigan. Appreciate it.